The police can extract DNA from blood, bone, hair and other body tissues left at the scene of a crime. These are called traces. At the same time, they take swabs from suspects to see whether the DNA matches traces stored in the Swiss databank. The samples, each carrying unique identity numbers and no names, are sent to one of 6 forensic laboratories around the country for analysis.
Entsprechend dem Bundesgesetz über das DNA-Profil.
In line with the federal laws over DNA profiling, we take DNA if a person is suspected of having committed a crime or misdemeanor. We can also take DNA to identify someone if they cannot give information, for example, if they're dead.
Verwenden, eine Person zu identifizieren.
Forensic scientists scan 13 DNA regions that vary from person to person and use the data to create a DNA profile or fingerprint of that individual. If the federal police get a DNA match, they send the information back to the cantonal police who requested the DNA analysis. The cantonal police can then match up the DNA file with the information they already have stored about a suspect.
Does not necessarily mean if I find a DNA profile of a person at crime scene that he's the perpetrator. It can also be that there are good reasons to find DNA there, but he's innocent. So that's up to the investigating team of the police later on to make the interpretation, and then also always have to keep in mind that contamination might have happened.
In 2008, 3,450 traces were matched to DNA in the databank, helping to achieve convictions. An example of the usefulness of the tool. In 2007, a brave father tackled a man who'd been following and threatening his daughter. DNA from the man's pullover was matched to that of a sexual offender who'd attacked students at an international school in Aiglon 7 years before. Some DNA is stored as evidence to help achieve a conviction in the future. In February 2008, 3 masked men robbed 4 priceless paintings from the Buerler collection in Seefeld. 2 of the paintings were recovered in the escape car, along with these clothes from which police extracted DNA. A year later, the same robbers are thought to have gone on to carry out a hit-and-run attack on a jeweller's. Their DNA, found at the scene, matched that of the art robbers, who are still at large. Sometimes taking DNA probes can help police narrow down the field of investigation. In the area around Riehen near Basel, there have been a string of about 40 arson attacks over the past 4 years. Local firemen agreed to provide DNA swabs, so that if their DNA is found at the scene, it'll be excluded from the inquiry.
DNA ist eine der wichtigen Spuren, die uns hilft in der
DNA is one of the most important leads that we can follow to detect crimes and offences, and an efficient way to establish guilt, but also to eliminate people from our inquiries.
Daten, Täter zu ermitteln, aber auch Ausschlüsse zu machen bei gewissen Taten.
Everyone sings the praises of the national database when it's used to catch a murderer or rapist. But at the same time, it's frequently vilified as an infringement of privacy and civil liberties. This group, called Fiche 2, has even taken to the streets over the wide powers the police have to collect DNA swabs. They say we're increasingly living in a Big Brother state.
We believe a type of national data bank is being set up containing details of left-wing activists who spray buildings or occupy houses. DNA tests were not intended for these sorts of offences. When people voted for this law in 2005, they thought it was being used to track rapists and murderers.
The federal police insist that taking swabs from minor offenders also helps to clear up larger crimes.
There are offenders who commit a small crime and before probably they had a severe crime. So with this current law, we are able to get those links.
Whether the civil liberties campaigners like it or not, DNA testing, even for smaller offences, is probably here to stay. And in this Facebook world, the protesters' fight for improved data protection is unlikely to win much sympathy. Young people in particular seem happy to publish personal information on social networking sites without a second thought.